All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us and welcome to the Prospective Access Provider webinar for the Access for All program. My name is Brittany Amagata, and I am with GCAP Services. We are the statewide access fund administrator, or SAFA, that the California Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, has designated to administer the SAFA Access for All program. This webinar today is focused on our request for proposals or call for projects for access providers for the funding cycle 5 for calendar year 2026. Before we get into the agenda and content, here are a few webinar ground rules. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the SAFA website for review. Microphones and cameras will be off for the participants throughout the presentation. For any Q&A, please submit them using the Q&A feature on Microsoft Teams that you can find on the top bar of your screen. All questions asked will be documented with the response and provided to today's attendees and posted on the website for review. And any questions that we receive today will also address at the end of the presentation. And then finally, please be respectful for other participants and presenters, as well as we are all here to learn about this new and exciting opportunity to help expand equitable and accessible transportation across California. All right, here is our agenda for today. We will go over a brief background of the Access for All program. Then we will discuss the following topics, which include the RFP overview and timeline, the access provider eligibility, available funding and covered counties, eligible and ineligible expenses, reporting requirements, application information and submission. Then we will wrap up with addressing the Q&A and how you can reach us for any further information or questions. Okay, let's start with the background. So Senate Bill or SB 1376 was signed into law in September 2018 and established the Transportation Network Companies or TNC Access for All Act. Also, CPUC and GCAP would like to share that Governor Newsom recently signed into law extending the Access for All program. So this will go through 2032. So CPUC established the Access for All program to help increase accessibility for persons with disabilities through on-demand wheelchair accessible vehicle or WAVE services. CPUC works with local access fund administrators or LAFAs to administer the available grant funding for WAVE services in specific counties. And for counties that do not have a designated LAFA, CPUC selected GCAP to act as the statewide access fund administrator. And GCAP has been working with CPUC since March 2025. And we've released the request for proposals on October 1st for this funding cycle 5 and the calendar year 2026. So this is an overview on how the Access for All program works. In order to subsidize the cost for providing wheelchair accessible vehicles or WAVE services, TNCs like Uber and Lyft collect an access fee of 10 cents for each TNC trip that they complete, and they remit these total fees collected to CPUC on a per county and quarterly basis. Then these fees are then deposited into CPUC's TNC Access for All fund for distribution to access providers. And then these access providers then establish on-demand transportation or partnerships to help meet the mobility needs of persons with disabilities, including wheelchair users who need WAVE services in each county. Great. So with that, we are here to present the request for proposal or call for projects for the SAFA Access for All program. And here is the overview of the RFP. The statewide access fund administrator is GCAP Services. Our program website can be found at www.cpucsafa.org. I'm Brittany Amagata, and I am the program contact for this RFP. And you can reach me at accessforall@cpucsafa.org or 949-409-4621, and that's my direct phone number. The funding source for this program is the CPUC Access Fund, which is state funding. The funding period is calendar year 2026. The available funding is a little over $17 million, and each county has a specific funding availability, which we will go over in upcoming slides. So it's not a pool of 17 million. It's all broken down by county. And then what we are looking for are access providers to design and implement project proposals aimed at expanding the availability of on-demand wave services for individuals with disabilities. Okay, here is the RFP timeline. So we released the RFP on October 1st. Then today we're having our prospective applicant webinar, which will be available. The recording will be available after this meeting. All RFP related questions will need to be submitted by next week on October 22nd by 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then responses for all these questions will be released on the program website on October 29. We'll also send out an email about that just so that you're aware. And then the application deadline for access providers is on November 12th by 5 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll go over how you're going to submit your application online. And then the notice of intent to award will be issued on February 2nd, 2026, so next year, along with the notice of award with CPUC's approval will be issued on March 1st. And then the funding agreement execution will be completed by March 30th. And that funding agreement will be between the selected access provider and GCAP services. So, all right. So to be eligible to become an access provider, an organization or entity must directly provide, they must directly provide or contract with a separate organization or entity to provide on-demand wave transportation to meet the needs of persons with disabilities. And this is in decision 2103-005 that you can find. And when you get the copy of these slides, you can access these links. And then part of that eligibility is that you have to either be a transportation carrier that holds a commission issued permit prior to applying to be an access provider, or you could also be a non-permitted transportation carrier if you can certify that you provide background checks that meet or exceed the requirements for TNCs. You have the insurance levels as required by General Order 115. You have certification that your drivers participate in controlled substance and alcohol testing programs. You have a business registration with the Secretary of State. And then you have a motor carrier profile with California Highway Patrol, and this is their form CHP 362. And all of these are detailed in the RFP that you can find and follow and kind of use as like a checklist as you're determining your eligibility for this. All right. And then here, as I mentioned previously, the total available funding for this cycle is a little over $17 million. The funding is broken down by each county, and here's the list of available funding for each county currently. One important thing to mention is that if you are applying for funding in multiple counties, you will need to submit a separate application for each. So for example, if you wanted to apply for funding in Alameda County and Napa County, you have to submit one application for Alameda and then a separate application for Napa, because we need to see like the breakdown of the budget for each of those available funding, and also your project proposals for each of those areas. Okay. So this is also available on our website. It's available in the RFP. There is a breakdown of a list of all of these available funding that you can look over. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the eligible and ineligible expenses. This is pretty straightforward for eligible expenses. These include vehicle, partnership, marketplace, and operational costs. And other indirect costs that are proposed in the application may be part of the budget, but this will have to be approved by CPUC and GCAP when you submit your proposal in your application. All of this detail is in section 4. For ineligible expenses, these include administrative costs of people employed by the access provider, for activities not directly related to the preparation and adoption of the proposed activities that are listed in your proposal. The costs for work performed prior to issuing a funding agreement or when it has expired. So like anything before the funding agreement and anything after the funding agreement has expired, those cannot be charged to this project or budgeted for this project. And then any claims or litigation costs, that is ineligible expenses as well. And also other costs that GCAP or CPC may deem as ineligible, that's just part of the ineligible expenses. And again, these are all detailed in section 4 of the RFP. Okay. Access provider reporting requirements. So this is pretty much after we've selected and approved access providers. We just wanted to give you a heads up on like what comes after you get the grant funding, right? So you must complete and submit quarterly progress reports. These are due 30 days within the 30 days after the quarter has ended, and you must use the CPC required reporting templates. And all of this, all of the data that we will be collecting is all listed out in section 5 of the RFP, and it details all the progress reporting requirements and the data points that we will need for this reporting, and also in order to receive the funding. Let's see. Also, just one more reminder too is that in our cpcsafa.org website, you can, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see a document that's called draft funding agreement. And that draft funding agreement is basically just the template of what we will be contracting with the access providers, between GCAP and the access providers. And then it lists out all of the important like requirements for the grant and what information that you'll need to submit on a quarterly basis, and then also like how you'll invoice and all that good stuff once you're selected and approved as an access provider. All right, so let's move on to where you can find all of the information for the access provider application. All application materials are available on cpcsafa.org/AP_info. When you're preparing your application, please be sure to include a response to all of the questions and prompts that we ask in the access provider application. And at the end of the application, you'll be asked to certify and acknowledge that all information that you submitted is accurate to your knowledge. And then also a reminder again, if you're applying for multiple counties, you must submit a separate application for each county, and incomplete applications or those missing required information may be deemed non-responsive and disqualified. So it's important to ensure that you answer all of the prompts in the application, try your best to answer all of those. Also, if GCAP does reach out to you, for example, if we're reviewing your application and we notice something is like missing completely, we might reach out to you and try to like, address that missing information. And if we do reach out, just please be sure to like promptly respond back. Okay. All right, so how do you submit your application? So all applications must be submitted online via the SAFA Access Provider Portal. We're calling this the SAFA app, and all applications are due by November 12th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So it's an automatic system where there's a date that is tied to the application. So anything after 5 p.m., nothing will be accepted or can't be, submitted. So make sure you get that before 5 p.m. on November 12th. Preferably an hour before that, so that just in case, like sometimes a minute off, like that you can submit it. Don't submit your application at 4:59 p.m. please. And then please see the link to the SAFA app here. The SAFA app is hosted by a software called Submittable. And you will need to create a free submittable account to complete the application. And when you're on Submittable, they do have like a guide on how you can create the free account. It's pretty straightforward. You just need your email, your name, and your and a password that you can create yourself. And then once you have that account with Submittable, you can go ahead and access the application on the website. Right. Okay, so evaluation and scoring. So GCAP will take the following steps when evaluating the application. We will do an eligibility screening or a completeness check, which is making sure that you've answered all of the questions on the application. If not, it might be turned back to you. But it might be turned back to you if it's within the due dates of the application deadline, sorry, which is November 12th. So anything, if you submit something on November 12th and you're missing something, we might not be able to go back to you and ask you for more information just because the applications are due on November 12th. Then once we've completed that eligibility screening, it'll be elevated to the evaluation panel review, and this will be this will consist of 3 evaluators for GCAP, and then they will do the detailed review and scoring for your application. And then once we have finished that and determined like our selections, we will send our award recommendations to CPUC. Then CPUC will give us a final approval, and then we'll move forward to notify the applicants of the selections. So the details for this evaluation and scoring is available in the RFP, and you can see all of the scoring criteria and like what the scoring ranges are for each of those criteria on section 8, which also includes the rubric. And applications must receive a minimum average score of 70 points or higher to be considered for funding. All right. All right. So we're, close to wrapping up here. But this is just a quick checklist for prospective applicants. So let's just go through this real quick. Please review the RFP and the website thoroughly and just, so that you can know what information is out there. And then if you still have questions, please send your questions to the Access for All at cpucsafa.org email inbox by October 22nd. Then you would want to create your free account on Submittable to access the SAFA Access Provider application, and then complete all of the sections of the application and submit your proposal by November 12th. And if there's any follow-up from GCAP, please remember to respond promptly regarding your application, just so that we can ensure that it moves forward smoothly. And then I encourage you to sign up for SAFA updates in case, we release that information on like, okay, we've selected these following access providers for these counties, just so that you're up to date with the information that gets sent out. Also, just I'm just going to go back quickly to the application submission real quick. I just remembered something. For Submittable, when you're submitting an application and you're like working with your team, there's going to be an option where you can collaborate with team members on an application so that it's not just one login. You can, once the first person who signs from your organization is going to start the application, then that person can add people into the form and then you can collaborate with them. More details on that are on the SAFA app, so just be sure to read like this first page here. On this here has like all of these prompts on like what you can do to collaborate if you have more than one team member working on an application. All right, going back to the checklist. So yeah, so we wrapped it up. So just make sure to sign up for SAFA updates. You can sign up on our website on the Contact Us page. And sign up for website email notifications. All right, and then I think we're ready now to go into questions. So we'll move on to the Q&A portion. So if you have any questions, please now submit them into the Q&A feature. Christina will be moderating the questions, and we will also have CPUC is also on the call to help answer any questions you may have. And then also, if you think of any questions after this webinar, you can email them to me or at any one of these emails here on the screen. You can also call me. We just want to make sure that all questions are received by next Wednesday, October 22nd. Then we will continuously update the website to have all the responses to the questions and finalize all the responses by October 29th. And then just a reminder that these slides and webinar recording will be available for you to review by tomorrow, October 16th. Yeah, so I'll turn it over to Christina.
Great. So it looks like we have our first question from Sean, and they're asking, can you submit an application to serve a portion of a county, or does it have to be the entire county?
Right. You can submit your application for the county, and then if you're only serving part of a county, I think that's fine. You just have to like submit like Alameda County, but you're gonna be in like a specific city, that's fine too.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany. Next question. What is the grant period if awarded?
The grant period is for calendar year 2026, so it'll be from the whole year until December 2026.
Great. Thank you. Next question from Jack. Do you have an estimate of how many providers will win an award to cover all counties? Do you envision multiple awards for individual counties, particularly the larger ones?
We don't have an estimate on how many access providers for all the counties, but there can be multiple what was that last part of the question again, Christina? Sorry.
Do you envision multiple awards for individual counties,
Yes.
particularly the larger ones?
Yes. We do if there are multiple applicants that meet the requirements on the RFP and are then we'll have multiple awards based on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Brittany. Next question from Joanna. Can you advise on how long the funding has been accruing for each county?
I'll give that question to Anna and Noah.
Yeah, so the funds have been, it has been carried over since the start of the program from 20, I think we started collecting 2019. So it's been since 2019 through 2024, I believe, or 2023. And so every year we always release funding availability. And so because we've selected GCAP to be our statewide access fund administrator, and this is their first year, it's essentially been carried over since 2019. And then they'll, for the following cycle, if we end up extending their contract, it'll be for another year. So that's why just wanted to kind of also say that's why this funding availability is large, because of the carryover from 2019.
Thank you, Anna. Next question from Sarah. Award executed March 31st, 2026, but does the grant period begin then or July 1st, 2026?
The grant period technically begins January 1st, 2026. Is that correct, Anna? Yeah. Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Next question from Kim. Did I hear correctly that even if we are already registered with the CPUC as a TNC, we also have to register with CHP for a motor vehicle carrier license as well?
So I'm going to go back to that slide. And then Anna or Noah, you can jump in. I'm sorry, my screen just froze. Oh, there we go. Okay, here. So can you see my screen? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So under access provider eligibility, you'll have to directly provide or contract with a separate organization or entity to provide on-demand wave transportation to meet the needs of persons with disabilities. And then eligible access providers include the following: a transportation net. So transportation carriers that hold a commission issue permit prior to applying to be an access provider, or a non-permitted transportation carrier. So if you're a non-permitted transportation carrier, then you would have to have that CHP form.
Correct. And if you are already permitted by the CPUC, you don't need a motor carrier profile because it would have already been reflected in your permit through PUC.
Great. Thank you, Brittany and Anna. Next question from Marissa. Are we able to use Uber or Lyft for any ambulatory trips?
I'll defer to Anna and Noah, but if we might need to kind of take that question offline, maybe, and
Mhm.
kind of discuss that.
Okay,
Yeah,
it
so
seems like
we'll answer that in like the written responses and when we send it out.
okay, perfect. So Marissa will reach out to you. Okay, next question from Jack. Do you expect funding beyond 2026?
Yes, I think so because like as I mentioned in the beginning, the program was set to sunset on January 2026, but then it got extended to 2032. So hopefully there will be more funding availability.
Okay, great. And then another question, do all vehicles in service need to be WAVs?
Yes.
Okay. And then another question from Sean. Our community members who use wheelchairs have requested both on-demand service as well as same-day pre-booked. Let's see, this is a long one. Say ride requested at 10 a.m. for a pickup at 11:30 a.m. Can we submit an application for a blended on-demand and same-day pre-booked service?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay, great. And then that's all of the questions that I see right now.
Mhm.
So if we want to give it maybe just another minute to see if anyone has last minute question. Oh, looks like we may have one. Okay, another question from Joanna. Can funding be used for regional trips? For example, the trip origin is in the county where funding was awarded / program is offered, but the trip destination may be in a neighboring county.
Yes, Noah's shaking his head. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Now that may be our last question.
All right. Well,
To
we have.
just
Oh,
jump
yes,
in on
Noah.
clarify a little bit on my enthusiastic yes. Funding has to be spent as regards to where the trip originated. So this funding can only be used to say for Alameda, can only be used to fund trips that have started in Alameda, even if they may end in San Francisco, but you can't use Alameda funds to pay for a trip that starts in San Francisco and ends in Alameda.
Awesome. Thank you, Noah. And then we have another question. How many WAV trips are gurney trips?
Um,
And that we
oh,
may
sorry.
need some clarification there as well. I'm not sure.
Gurney trips, like as in like emergency gurney? Is that? I don't think
I'm
we
not-
have that data on file or readily available at this moment.
Okay, that may be another one we may need to follow up with.
Mhm.
Okay, so Marissa will follow up with that one as well. It looks like she replied and said bed-bound patients for some more
Mhm.
clarification, but I think Brittany, you mentioned we don't have that available, so we'll provide that in our Q&A document for you, Marissa. Okay, next question. Even if it is serving, oh, I think this is a follow-up maybe to one of Sean's prior questions, but they say even if it is serving an Alameda resident coming back from SF, San Francisco, and I see a head nod from no.
Yeah. Yeah. The residency of the passenger doesn't matter to the statute, I'm afraid. It's just where the trip originated. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anna.
That's right.
Okay. And then it looks like Sarah, some people are in gurneys and need to travel in them to non-emergency medical transport, so need specialized transport that goes beyond WAV. Are we able to include that in our grant?
I don't think we have an answer for that right now. We'll
Okay.
discuss offline and get back to you in the written responses.
Okay, perfect. And now, I keep saying that's the last question. That may be our last question, but we'll give it just a couple more seconds to see if anything else comes through. Oh. Okay, we do have one question. I think maybe what company is a broker? Is maybe the question.
Can whoever asked that question clarify or provide more details?
Let's see. Oh, what if a company is a broker?
Oh,
What if a company is a broker?
Yes, I think they corrected
Okay.
their first question. Yeah.
Okay. I think we'd have to understand the business model a little bit more. I'd recommend reaching out to GCAP and making sure we understand exactly what the grant proposal would be.
Okay, great. And then confirming that we can purchase a van through this program and include costs to maintain it.
yes, you that is part of the eligible expenses is vehicle costs. So yes, you can submit that as part of your grant.
Okay, great. And it looks like I don't see any new questions popping up, but again, I've been wrong probably 3 times now, so we'll wait again to see if anyone has anything.
Yeah, so I wanted just to say thank you, Christina, for taking all those questions. And then also thank you, CPC, Anna and Noah, for being here to answer them. We will be posting these slides and the webinar recording on the website. And then we'll also send it out to the attendees for today's webinar. If you think of any questions after this webinar, please feel free to email them to me at any of these emails above, my direct email at GCAP or the Access for All email for SAFA. I'll make sure to keep track of those and respond to them as soon as I can. Please make sure that we receive all these questions by October 22nd. We will make sure to continuously update the website as like on a rolling basis as questions come in and we put responses out. And then all final responses will be published on October 29th. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Are there any other questions, Christina, or are we good?
Yes, as you were going through that, yeah, I think we
Oh,
may
okay.
have a few more.
All
Okay.
right, yeah.
So I think this is kind of adding on to confirmation from a previous submittal, but They say, and that we can include a dispatcher and driver and other staff directly involved, but not indirect staff.
Yes, any and like operational costs and administrative staff that are directly doing what you put in your proposal, those are all eligible costs.
Okay, and then I think to add on to that, and or can we contract a company that provides WAB and Gurney rides and include vouchers for this, as well as staff that will coordinate those rides and promote the program?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, Sarah, to all of those questions that you had. Okay, and I do not see any other questions at this time.
Right. Right. All right then. So, oh, was there anything else, Christine?
No. Oh, you know what? I might have spoken too soon. I did. Okay. One question from Marissa. How about software cost?
Software costs. Yes, it's included.
Okay. So, perfect. And not seeing anything else. Again,
Okay.
like Brittany mentioned, if you don't get your question in during this, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer your questions. But Brittany, I think we are good. I'm not seeing any
All
new
right.
ones.
Okay, so we can wrap up this call. Thank you again for joining us. And we're looking forward to receiving your applications. And everyone, please have a nice day.